Dylan never imagined that his life would change so drastically in such a short time. At 22 years old, he was a passionate young man, full of dreams and plans for the future alongside his girlfriend Annabelle. The two had been together for almost 3 years and had one of those overwhelming passions, the kind that makes you lose track of the world around you. When Annabelle discovered she was pregnant, it was a mixture of surprise and joy for the couple. Despite their young age, they decided to go ahead with the pregnancy. Dylan started working 2 jobs to save money, while Annabelle took care of her health and prepared for the baby's arrival. The months passed quickly amid medical appointments, diaper and baby clothes shopping. The baby's room was painted light yellow, with white clouds on the ceiling. Dylan assembled the crib with his own hands, while Annabelle knitted small wool booties. Everything seemed perfect, until the day of the birth arrived. Dylan was anxious in the hospital waiting room, pacing back and forth. When he was finally able to enter the room, his heart filled with love at seeing his newborn daughter in Annabelle's arms. But the happiness was short-lived. Postpartum complications caused Annabelle to lose a lot of blood. In a matter of hours, she was gone, leaving Dylan alone with a baby in his arms and a broken heart. That was the turning point in Dylan's life. When the nurse placed little Lizzie in his arms for the first time after Annabelle's death, he understood that this little being would be his world. After all, she would only have him from then on. The first few months were difficult. Dylan relied on his parents' help to take care of Lizzie while he worked during the day. At night, he juggled between bottles, diapers, and nighttime cries. There was no time to mourn Annabelle's loss. All his energy was focused on caring for that little creature who depended entirely on him. As Lizzie grew up, Dylan developed a routine. He worked full-time during the day, leaving his daughter with her grandparents. At night, he began attending a community college, determined to provide a better future for Lizzie. On weekends and the few free hours he had, he dedicated himself entirely to the girl. The years went by, and Dylan grew professionally. He graduated from college and landed a better job. Each achievement was celebrated with thoughts of Lizzie. When he was finally able to buy a house of their own, it was a very special moment. Dylan took Lizzie, then 10 years old, to see the new house. Her eyes sparkled when she saw the room that would be hers alone. "Can I paint it pink, Daddy?" she asked excitedly. Dylan smiled and agreed. In the following days, father and daughter had fun choosing the furniture and decorating the room together. Lizzie wanted a princess bed, with a canopy and everything. Dylan thought it was an extravagance, but couldn't deny his daughter's request. Seeing her joy was worth any expense. While they painted the walls light pink, Lizzie chattered about how she was going to arrange her books and toys. Dylan watched her with a heart full of love. That little girl was his world, his reason for living. Sometimes he wondered if Annabelle would be proud of how he was raising their daughter. In moments like that, painting Lizzie's new room, he felt that she would be. As the years passed, Dylan had a few relationships, but none of them progressed. His focus was always on working to provide a good life for Lizzie. In his free time, she was the one he liked to spend it with. They watched movies together on the couch, went for walks in the park, played video games. Dylan made an effort to be not just a father but also a friend to Lizzie. Time flew by, and soon Lizzie was graduating from university. Dylan was bursting with pride as he watched his daughter step onto the stage to receive her diploma. Tears streamed down his face as he gave her a standing ovation. In that moment, he thought of Annabelle. How happy she would have been to see their daughter graduate. Dylan felt a pang of sadness that she wasn't there, but at the same time an immense gratitude for having managed to raise Lizzie on his own and see her become a strong and determined woman. After graduation, Lizzie started looking for a job. Her dream was to work in a large engineering firm, the biggest in the region. For months she sent out resumes and attended interviews until she finally landed a position as a trainee at this company. When she shared the news with her father, Lizzie was bursting with happiness. Dylan hugged her tightly, proud of his daughter's perseverance. "You deserve it, my love. You're going to rock it," he said, filled with emotion. His little girl had grown up, starting her career. Time had passed too quickly. Lizzie dove headfirst into her new job. She was excited about the possibility of a bright professional future at that company. In the first few months as a trainee, she worked tirelessly to learn and stand out. Her dedication did not go unnoticed. Lizzie was frequently praised by her boss, an elegant and friendly woman named Margaret. Margaret was the type of professional that Lizzie admired and looked up to, always impeccably dressed, with an air of confidence that impressed everyone. But beyond her appearance, Margaret was a fair and competent leader. She knew how to recognize her team's good work and encouraged each individual's growth. Lizzie felt lucky to have such a boss right in her first job. It had been a few months since Lizzie started working there, and the trainee program was coming to an end. There was an opening to become a permanent employee at the company, not just a trainee, but a definitive job. Lizzie knew she had a chance since her performance had been praised. But the competition was fierce. During a lunch with her father, Lizzie was excitedly talking about the possibility of being promoted to the full-time position. Dylan listened attentively, happy to see his daughter's enthusiasm. Between topics, Dylan mentioned that he had been feeling tired and a bit overweight lately. "Dad, you should start going to a gym. I'm sure you'll begin to feel more energetic and even lose a few pounds," suggested Lizzie. Dylan hesitated at first. He had never been a big fan of exercise. But seeing the genuine concern in his daughter's eyes, he decided to give it a chance. The next day, he enrolled in a gym close to home. Once there, Dylan felt completely lost. So many strange machines, people working out intently. He didn't even know where to start. He decided to try the treadmill, which seemed to be the simplest piece of equipment. That was a mistake. Dylan spent a few minutes trying to figure out how to make the treadmill work. He pressed buttons randomly, without success. When he finally managed to turn it on, the speed was too high. Startled, Dylan started to run awkwardly, trying to keep up with the treadmill's pace. His arms flailed in the air as he struggled to stay upright. People around began to look, some discreetly laughing at the comical scene. Dylan was red-faced, breathless, about to fall off the treadmill. It was then that a woman quickly approached and pressed the emergency button, stopping the treadmill. "First time at the gym?" she asked with a gentle smile. Dylan, still panting, just nodded. The woman chuckled lightly and began explaining how to use the treadmill properly. Dylan was charmed by her friendliness. After a few minutes of conversation, she invited him for a coffee at the gym's cafe. What was supposed to be just a quick coffee turned into hours of conversation. Dylan and the woman discovered they had a lot in common. They shared a love for jazz and old movies and supported the same football team. The conversation flowed so naturally that they didn't even notice the time passing. From that day on, Dylan and the woman not only attended the gym together but also had other outings. They went to the movies, dined at cozy restaurants and took walks in the park. Dylan felt rejuvenated, as if he were a teenager experiencing a first love. Lizzie soon noticed the change in her father. Dylan was happier, more groomed. He spent more time getting ready before going out, and he even bought new clothes. "Tell me, who is this mysterious woman that finally made you swoon, Dad? You look like a teenager in love," Lizzie teased. Dylan smiled a bit awkwardly. "We're still getting to know each other, Lizzie. As soon as things get more serious, I want you to meet her." Lizzie was happy to see her father like this. He deserved to find someone special after so many years dedicated exclusively to her. At the same time, she herself was experiencing a moment of anticipation at the company. Her performance continued to be praised by Margaret, and everything indicated that she would be chosen for the permanent position. Some weeks had passed, and Dylan finally decided it was time to introduce the woman he was in love with to his daughter Lizzie. He invited his daughter to dinner, saying he wanted her to meet the woman who had touched his heart after so many years. On the appointed day, Lizzie arrived at the restaurant excited. She spotted her father, who waved at her. The mysterious woman had her back turned. Lizzie approached, curious. When the woman finally turned around, Lizzie was in shock. It was Margaret, her boss. For a few seconds, nobody said anything. Dylan looked confusedly at the two, not understanding what was happening. Margaret seemed equally surprised. Lizzie was the first to break the silence, letting out a nervous laugh. "Well, I didn't see that coming," she said, trying to ease the tension. Dylan explained that he knew Margaret was a manager at a large company, but he had no idea it was the same one where Lizzie worked. Margaret, in turn, said that Dylan always spoke of his daughter with such pride, but had never associated her with the same Lizzie from her team. Despite the initial shock, the surprise was received irreverently by the three. Lizzie already admired Margaret for her integrity and kindness at work. Seeing how happy her father was beside her only reinforced her affection for her boss. During dinner, no work topics were discussed. The three simply enjoyed a relaxed and fun conversation. They talked about food, travel, and music. Lizzie watched with a warm heart how her father laughed and touched Margaret's hand in affectionate gestures. It was good to see him so happy. Dylan had always been an exemplary father who did everything for her, often sacrificing things for himself to provide her with a promising life. The next day, when Lizzie arrived at the office, she noticed a different buzz. She soon discovered the reason. A colleague who was also competing for the permanent position at the company had seen Lizzie, Dylan, and Margaret in the restaurant the previous night. And of course, he didn't waste any time spreading the gossip to all the other colleagues. "Now we know why Lizzie is so praised by Margaret. After all, the boss is dating her father," they whispered in the hallways. "We already know who will get the permanent position at the company. I always thought Margaret was an upright person, but it seems she will favour Lizzie to please her boyfriend." Lizzie tried to ignore the malicious comments. She knew they were lies. After all, before dinner, neither she nor Margaret knew they were related through Lizzie's father. But it was hard not to feel hurt by the insinuations. In the middle of the morning, Margaret called Lizzie to her office. As soon as the door closed, the boss got straight to the point. "Lizzie, you and I both know that my choice for the position has nothing to do with my relationship with your father. I don't care what people might say. You were already my choice even before knowing about this coincidence," said Margaret, with firmness in her voice. Lizzie took a deep breath before responding. "Margaret, I know the truth. But I also know that rumours are like sparks of fire. They spread quickly, creating a big blaze. I don't want to harm you or tarnish the reputation you've worked hard to build. And I know that if you choose me, we will forever have this doubt hanging over us. That's why I decided to withdraw my application for the position." Margaret widened her eyes, surprised by the decision. "But Lizzie, the trainee program is ending. You will be out of a job." Lizzie smiled sadly. "I know, but other opportunities will come. I can't let this situation affect your career or your relationship with my father." Later, in a conversation with Dylan, Lizzie explained her decision to her father. Dylan was dismayed to learn that his daughter was giving up such an important opportunity. "Daughter, you don't have to do this. I'm sure Margaret and you can handle this situation professionally," he argued. Lizzie held her father's hands affectionately. "Dad, if I took that job, Margaret could be questioned about her ethics and even harm herself professionally. She makes you happy, Dad. I don't want this situation to be an obstacle to your relationship with her." She paused, her eyes teary. "You have always given up so many things for me, always put yourself second to give me opportunities and a future. Now it's my turn to give up something to give you the chance for a future, the chance to live a love." Dylan hugged his daughter, moved. At that moment, he saw that his little girl had become a strong and generous woman. He felt proud. In the following weeks, Lizzie dedicated herself to looking for new job opportunities. It wasn't easy, but she remained optimistic. Dylan and Margaret supported her as best they could, offering advice and referrals. 2 months later, Lizzie landed a position at another engineering company. It wasn't as large as the previous one, but it offered good prospects for growth. At her farewell party at the old company, Margaret made a point of publicly praising Lizzie's character and competence, making it clear to everyone that the young engineer had a bright future ahead. Dylan watched the scene with his heart filled with pride and gratitude. His daughter had become an incredible woman, capable of making difficult decisions with maturity and selflessness. And now, at 45 years old, he also had the chance to experience a new love alongside Margaret. Dylan thought about how life turns around. The early loss of Annabelle had been devastating, but the love for Lizzie had kept him standing all these years. Now, it was Lizzie's love for him that paved the way for a new phase in his life. With a smile on his face, Dylan fell asleep, grateful for the past that shaped him, happy with the present he was living, and hopeful for the future that unfolded before him. The journey had not been easy, but each step had led him exactly where he was meant to be. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.